Hello everyone, my name is MJ and you are at my channel called Reading This Life. My channel is where I talk fiction, friends, and fun. Today, it's an announcement video for one of my top booktube events of the year. Stay tuned. Okay, here we are, 2024. We are rolling into May, and that can only mean one thing. It's horror mayhem, people. Horror mayhem. This is the one event that I dived in nose first when I first came on BookTube. It is a fantastic event focused on horror fiction, organized, founded, discovered, branded by the one and only Bookish Bryants. I will leave their channel down here. Go check out past Horror Mayhem videos, events, TBRs. It's just chef's kiss. This year, I was asked to be a host, and honestly, I can tell you exactly where I was. I was in Delaware Christmas shopping, and I get a Voxer message from Scott Bryant asking me to be a host. And I was like, you don't even have to ask. Like, I'm so in. This year, it's even bigger and better, y'all. It's bigger and better. So, I don't want to go the cart before the horse, right? Okay. So, today, I was busy creating graphics, and those graphics are going to help with prompts, with TBRs, with bingo cards. Yes. So let's get into the weekly prompts first. Now, this is just the general. This is for people that maybe just want to tiptoe into horror mayhem, which, y'all, if horror is not your genre of choice, okay, I am here to hold your hand and to navigate you through this journey, okay? There are books out there with a speck of horror for everyone. It's not scary. It doesn't have to keep you up at night. You don't have to go to church after reading the book, okay? There are so many different aspects to horror that I bet we could find the right book for you, okay? So let's go through the prompts. Let me put my specs on so I can see what I'm doing, okay? If this is your first time this year in May on BookTube, oh, it's just so good. It is just so good. The indie horror that is out there now is fantastic. It's fantastic. Okay, so I will put the lovely graphic that I made right here. Week number 1 is local horror, okay? Are there any horror stories where you live? Are there any famous horror stories where you live? Do you live near a place that is known for ghost stories? Okay, there is a famous battle in the Civil War where I live near, and probably I'm going to see if I could pull something out of that. But local horror. Also, the library where, one of the major libraries where I belong to is haunted, and one of the ghost shows was there last year. And it's that kind of thing. So, local horror stories. So, do some research and see if there's anything local to your state, to the area where you live. Do you have sightings of Bigfoot? Do you have spirits that are not resting? Are there any local legends? Are there any ghost stories? It would be interesting for everyone just to do a deep dive and see what you could find out. So that is like local horror. Horror that is native to your area, your state, your section of the country, something like that. Week number 2 is movie horror. So to read a book, could be a novelization, a character that is featured in a movie, novelization of the movie itself. It could be, anything regarding a horror movie. 30 Days of Night is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I may try to get the graphic novel and read it. Okay, something like that. So I'm just giving you examples. From Hell. Where's From Hell? I just finished it. It's over there. From Hell is a graphic novel, and it's also a movie that was out. So that could be like a really good tie-in. Okay, so week number 2 is... You could read The Exorcist if that's your cup of tea. I will never read that book. I will never watch that movie ever in my life again. No, no thank you. No thank you. And I love me a good exorcism. Not that one. Because I told you, you know what I'm going to say. Jason Miller, who played the priest in The Exorcist, came to my high school and gave a talk about all the crazy stuff that happened on that movie set. And he said, kids, whatever you do, don't f*** with the devil. I'm listening to Jason Miller. God rest your soul. All right. Okay, so week number 2 is movie horror. I have a great example over here. One second. The Hunger by Whitley Strieber. I read this with Michael Romeo Talks Books a little while back. This is a fantastic movie with David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve. We also have, it's here somewhere, Carrie. James Herbert, The Fog. Rosemary's Baby. Wolfen. Do I have anything else that's good? Clive Barker. Cabal. Pet Cemetery. I'm actually going to be reading this with Alan over at his channel, Big Hard Books and Classics. This is going to be our buddy read for May. I've never read it. Yeah, I remember it too. Okay, so that's just pulling from my shelf what I have regarding movie horror, okay? Next. Classic horror is the classics, okay? So anything, I would say I'm going to go pre-1980. Because I know. I know the 80s are classic. I know. You don't have to remind me. I'm in denial, and I'm going to stay in denial, and that's okay. Because knowing is half the battle. All right, so classic horror books that are written pre-1970, I'll say. Okay? You can also take a spin on it and make a classic, like read a book about a classic movie monster, a universal monster, one of those classic characters that sticks out in your head. Week number 4 is contemporary horror. So horror that has happened, 2000s and up. You know what I'm talking about. So whatever is a contemporary to you. Contemporary to me is something like this. This is Thirst. I keep talking about this book because I can't wait to read it. This is a novel that is translated by Heather Cleary, and it's written by Marina Jaskuskik. Okay? So I'm gonna give a little foreshadowing, okay? There's a bingo card. The bingo card has a ton of prompts on it. It's gonna have vampires. It's going to have translated. It's going to have, I think there is diverse author. Oh, it's going to be good. I can't wait to read it. It's going to be really good. So that would be a take on contemporary horror for myself. Okay. So now let's get into the bingo cards. So if you don't want to follow those 4 weeks, it's totally fine. You don't have to. You can just read whatever horror you want to read. As long as you're reading horror in the month of May, you're participating in Horror Mayhem, whether you know it or not. All right, let's pull up a bingo card. I made 2 different designs. One was for the Universal monsters. And that, actually, Erie, my subscriber, helped me out with that. Erie, thank you so much for that graphic. And then I also made a little one that's just a little more creepy. So we will have the following prompts on the bingo card. Are y'all sitting down? There's 36 squares on the bingo card. It's 6 by 6. Get it? 6 by 6? 6 by 6 by 6. Yeah, okay. See, we were thinking when we were doing all this. All right, so let me pull these up. Universal Monsters, graphic novel, cult horror, indie horror, personal horror. Personal horror can be phobias. Something, it could, I don't think body horror is on here. Something that happens to, what is your personal horror? Okay. Haunted house, possession, religious horror, body horror is on here, slasher, killer animals, horror adjacent. What is horror adjacent? Horror adjacent can be a science fiction book that creeps in a little bit of horror. It can be a romance that has a little bit of horror. So Twilight, I would say, is horror adjacent because we have the classic werewolf and we have the classic vampire. What else? So you catch my drift on that. Okay, horror adjacent might be a shifter romance. It might be a dark romance, something like that. Okay. Translated horror. Diverse author. Kidnappings. Psychological horror. Extreme horror. We also have green cover, and that's for our Green Angel packs. Cozy horror. What's cozy horror? Cozy horror is that book that has just a little touch of something for you. Just a little bit. I consider Monstrilio a cozy horror because there is horror, but it's also family. You know, there's a lot of family themes in that book. Cozy horror could be a horror book that has maybe an animal as our main character, an animal detective. Occult detectives. Don't forget, occult detectives can cross over into the horror genre as well. What's the book? Thor. The book Thor is about a dog that protects his family against maybe what he might think is a werewolf. That's cozy horror. Okay. Based on a true story. Cannibalism. Elemental or environmental. Folk horror. Ghost. Witches. Cryptic. Cosmic. Home invasion. Aliens. Curses. Dolls. Clowns. Holiday horror. Evil children. Technological horror. And dystopian horror. Any questions about any of that, leave a comment down below and we'll be sure to clear it up. But you're able to go across and down on the bingo card, but you can't go diagonally because of how it's 6 by 6. Okay, if that makes sense. You probably can do a 4 corners, you probably could do a coverall, and you probably could fill out the letter H for horror, maybe. There's no prize. It's just, check off the box. There's also, I'll put this here. There's a checklist for people that maybe aren't down with the bingo card, but they just want to tick the box. My type A people, I know you're out there. I know you're watching. So all of the genres will be there and you can check the box. Okay. So like for this one, we have a translated. So that would check the box. It's also vampire. Check the box. It's also, I'm going to say diverse author. She's Argentinian. And it's a female. So yeah, why not? Why not? And she's writing about what I think are 2 lesbian vampires. I'm good with that. All right. And I think that's it. Okay, so the next Horror Mayhem video that I'll be putting out probably towards the end of this month is going to show you what I plan on reading or what books I have picked to read during Horror Mayhem. Usually it's just a whole bunch of good stuff. And I am going to be requesting a certain folk horror book. Cross your fingers that I get approved for it on NetGalley. There are so many good options on Kindle Unlimited, on NetGalley. You can get them at your local libraries. Indie horror is where it's at. So take some time, watch this video over again, and plan your strategy, okay? There are a ton of co-hosts involved in this. I will list them all down below. Be sure to check out their channels. Be sure to check out their announcement videos as well. I think there's 15 or 16 of us. Yeah, we're taking over BookTube with some horror mayhem for sure. All right, everyone. I think I covered all the bases. If I didn't in this video, I will be sure to do it in my next one. So I hope you are all going to participate in this. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you're interested in getting into the genre, but you don't know where to start. Maybe I can help you out. All right. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of others, and I will see you in my next video, whether that be sooner or later. So until next time, everyone, goodbye for now. Happy reading. Get ready for horror mayhem.